As CEF, we're involved in a couple of aspects of this program. We manage something called the Africa Diaspora Marketplace with USAID and with Western Union. And then now we're also managing the African Women Entrepreneurship Program for the U.S. Department of State. And so with those two programs, we're focused on a whole array of issues for SMEs, but particularly access to finance, because that's our skill set. We have invested in small and medium enterprises for almost 25 years now. And so we know what all these challenges are in these emerging markets, and they're unique in each environment, but many of them are very common because the presenters that we have had here over the last 2 days have had the same concerns and the same message that you would have even if you were making these kinds of remarks in the United States. SMEs always need access to capital. There's never enough capital. It's never the right kind of capital to go as far as they would like it to go to support their business. And all of them need some kind of capacity support, capacity building in some way. And sometimes it's at a more basic level in terms of financial management and how to control your business from an operational and human resource standpoint. And sometimes it's very technical expertise that might depend on what industry they're in. So we've been involved in organizing this event, recruiting SMEs to come to the event, making sure there was a strong focus on women, orchestrating the coming together last night of WIMBIZ and the AWEP chapter, which is the African Women's Entrepreneurship chapter. So
we know that every fund, as your name implies, has a cost. Nothing comes free. What's the cost of your fund?
Well, we ourselves are not directly funding SMEs right now. What we're doing is playing a facilitating role. We do hope that we'll be in a position to begin investing in SMEs, particularly women-owned companies. But at the moment, the role here is to engage the banking sector and to make sure that there's, more opportunity to meet at that fine point in the middle where the bankers can satisfy what they need to have in terms of credit quality and credit worthiness, and where the SMEs can meet them partway in terms of the collateral support, the kind of backing that they bring, having a solid business plan, having adequate information about the cash flows of the business. So the point here today and these last 2 days has been to make sure that we work as closely as possible with the commercial banking sector as they are all looking at SMEs as a new market, and making sure there's adequate understanding on both sides about what the requirements are and what the possibilities and needs are, and then creating this space for them to come together and to be able to meet a variety of banks on the part of the SMEs, and for the bankers to see a variety of small companies.
So why aren't you directly involved in funding SMEs in Nigeria, and when do we expect to see that?
Primarily for us, it's either fundraising to create a fund that can invest equity, because we're not a commercial bank, but we do operate non-bank finance institutions and other markets, and we operate equity funds. And so in both cases, it's a question of fundraising in order to be able to then invest. And obviously the banking model is you take local deposits, you're regulated as a local bank, and you lend. The equity fund model is that you find investors who want to invest their capital for a longer period of time, and during that 5 to 10 years, you are taking an ownership stake in companies and helping them grow. So they're two different kinds of capital, but both of them require you to find interested investors and to pull them together. So we do have support among some of the development finance community to do longer term sort of equity or longer term debt support, but it's a process to get there.
Beyond funding, we know funding is a major part and it's your major area of focus, but beyond that, what are some of your other observations about doing business, manufacturing, especially in Nigeria, and what's your advice on the way forward?
Well, I mean, certainly what I've observed is that there's a tremendous level of interest, a tremendous level of activity, and obviously a very strong need. I mean, there are some very promising opportunities because there is such a large and growing middle class. So there are strong needs that SMEs can meet to serve that market. But you also have strong natural resource opportunities here, and all along that supply chain there are opportunities for SMEs. And we want to see that develop further, and I think, you know, the larger corporations are increasingly understanding that they need that adequate local supply chain that is made up of SMEs. And then you have a very strong agricultural economy that is not as developed as it could be, and there are many missing pieces in the agricultural value chain that I think small and medium enterprises can very well fill.
The program for this year started and now it's ended. Last year, 10% success was recorded. That means 7 out of the 70 SMEs got funding from the various banks. This year, of course, we had larger figures, about 300, and we hope that a whole lot more of these SMEs will get funding from these banks and the Bank of Industry. We'll sure bring you this story and others on another episode of this program. My name is Ini Thompson.